What is up, swimmers and swammers? We are live. Welcome back to the SwimSwam Breakdown. As always, I'm your host, Coleman Hodges, coming to you from Brooklyn, New York. I am joined today by the swim scribe, David Clossie from St. Cloud, Minnesota. And very similar to last week, we are talking World Cup exclusively this week. We saw the second stop of the three-stop circuit on this 2025 World Cup series go down last weekend in Westmont, Illinois, just outside of Chicago. A lot of fast swimming, 4 world records, 3 on the last night, which I think that is our entry to conversation today, because last week we kind of talked about how the second of the 3 stops can be kind of a slump, David, and that was pointedly not the case, I
And
feel
they
like,
took
in
that
Westmont.
personally.
Exactly, yeah. Which, how appropriate that this was like in Chicago, and they went the Michael Jordan route of taking things personally and just lighting Westmont on fire. I mean, I think well over half of the top performing athletes were faster in Westmont than they were in Carmel. Which could make things very exciting for this week in Toronto. But just on what were your initial thoughts on just the level of competition and pure speed that we saw from Westmont, David?
Yeah, it was a really fun stop because we saw the world record split up on 2 on night 2, then 2 more on night 3, which was pretty
Mhm.
cool to see. And it was a nice mix of, oh, I thought that would happen maybe the next stop. I figured that would happen at some point, and I did not see that happening at all. With or at least maybe it was a possibility. That last one, of course, is Kate Douglas in the 100 freestyle. But the overall just caliber of racing continues to be really good. I like that we had a sprinkling of extra NCAA swimmers in there to kind of mix up some races,
Yeah.
and also just it continued to be pretty cutthroat and a lot of races coming down. There was not a huge amount of, oh yeah, we knew they were coming and going to win this. There's a lot of, even if the favorite one going in, a lot of, ooh, I don't know who's going to get it. We saw some disruptors like attempting to make waves, like Gretchen Walsh entering that 50 backstroke and getting,
Yeah.
she get second or
And
third
didn't
in that.
win. Yeah, I mean, I think that was pretty surprising for me, just to not only see her swim it, but it's like the competition is so stacked that she didn't even win. She was, I think, second. Sorry, she was second behind Kaylee McEwen, only by 2/100ths, but
Yeah, and
still.
of people to get second to in a backstroke race, like you could do a lot worse than Kaylee McEwen.
Yeah, and also it's like Molly O'Callahan 7/100ths behind Gretchen, Catherine Burkhoff 2/100ths behind Molly. I mean, it was those top 4 were all really, really tight in terms of just pure competition, separated by 13/100ths. So
Yes.
it's a
After
tight field.
Molly had her backstroke wedge mishap, that Kaylee, as the resident backstroke expert, hopping out of the pool to, yeah, that's broken. You got to get her a new one, which was pretty funny to
Wait, I
watch.
didn't even see that. That's what happened.
Oh, you did it? So yeah, so they were like, I think it was really funny, like the each of the 3 days for Molly O'Callahan, because with the backstroke night 1 is 50
Mhm.
back. There's something going on with her wedge. It's probably not like locking or something like that. A lot better than a malfunction off of the start. That would be
Right.
disastrous,
Yeah.
especially in a 50 back. And you can see the officials are kind of, like fiddling with it, looking at it, whatever. I don't know if there's any words being exchanged. And then Kaylee gets out of the pool, goes over to Molly's lane, looks at it, and she says something to the official, and then they take the wedge away and get her a new one. And I don't know what they were saying, but I think it's on the Instagram account for the Social Kick podcast. They posted a clip of it, and
Mm.
both of O'Callahan and McEwen were in the comments in there, and it was something like, like, I love it, something about like being gaslit into it not being broken or something by the officials. Like they're trying to be like, no, it's fine. It's fine. And then she said,
Mhm.
no, you got to get her a new one. At least I don't have the comments in front of me, but that's kind of how you can read between it.
Mhm.
And then, so that was like night 1 for O'Callahan, weird issue with backstroke wedge. Night 2, world record. Night 3, bleeding from her thumb before a race.
I didn't read that report either. Did you see what that was about, or did we get any further clarification on that?
There wasn't not that I saw, other than, like, some people in the comments said it was, like, an issue with, like, she, like, broke her, like, nail and maybe, like, caused it to bleed, but I
Mm,
noticed on the broadcast too, and they were talking about it on there, and it's
mhm.
you can see in the article, and it kinda breaks down some things I missed, where you can kinda see, like, a bit of, I picked a bad time for this because I normally feed the cats around 2, and it's about 1:30 right now, and all 3 of them have just been circling around me, and she's just ripping up things because she's hungry.
The sharks
Um,
are circling.
literally. And, I guess there.
Yeah.
Um, but it looks like she must have just cut herself on something because she's kinda, like, shaking her hand around. You apparently you could see it in, like, a couple other shots of, as other people are walking out, it just, like, camera
Mm,
tracked over the lane that she was in,
mhm.
and then she goes over to, and gets, like, a bandage put on it, and, one of the commentators pointed out, like, "Does it look like she have, like, a little bit of blood on her suit?" Was she, because she looked like she's, like, kinda, like, wiping it, like, on her suit, just trying to, like, deal with it, then realized that it was maybe a little too intrusive. But yeah, just the of, like, weird error with the backstroke wedge,
Yeah.
world record,
Yeah.
weird error with a thumb.
Yeah, so I mean, she's certainly going through it, but also I feel like that is the great part. She got second in the 100 free, by the way.
Yes.
More over a second behind Kate Douglas, but so a distant second, but still very prominent second. But I feel like that's the cool part about these World Cup circuits is that you're racing so much in such a small window of time that things are bound to come up, right? Like you're bound to encounter adversity, which I think is good for athletes because it gives them more and more practice for when they get to a bigger meet like a world championships or an Olympic games where certainly adversity will come up more than likely and you have to know how to deal with it. And I think again the shortened amount of time with a ton of racing gives you that when you have to deal with things like a broken backstroke wedge that you're being gaslit about or a bloody thumb because you whatever broke a nail or whatever happened. So I think that's good. I feel like that's good for the athletes and hopefully she's walking away. I mean, she can't be too bummed. She broke a world record and got
Yeah.
and got two more medals in 2 events. So it's like, yeah.
It's also good practice for if there's an issue that happens at, like, a major international meet. Like, I
Yeah.
think the most
Yeah.
famous example, right, is Phelps in '08 during the 200 butterfly with his goggles, and he's like, "Knew my stroke count because I prepared for that scenario." Like, there was, I think an urban legend that floats around that Bowman broke his goggles once before a race, and he's like but at the very least, his goggles were broken, and Bowman's so like, "Deal with it. Go race it."
Yeah. No, I think that's I mean, by all accounts, I feel like that's at least embedded in swimming lore enough to be fact or
Yeah.
to be taken as fact. But yeah, so it's like this is one cool thing about the World Cup circuit is that you are racing so much that things are bound to come up and you learn to deal with it and still swim fast, which all of these women did. Like we said, 4 world records, 2 on night 2, 2 on night 3. Kayla McEwen in the tuner back, Reagan Smith in the hunter back, Kate Douglas in the 100 free, Molly O'Callahan, the aforementioned, in the 200 free. Which one was most impressive to you, David?
I think the one that I'm going to say, like, most impressed me just because it shocked me so much was Kate Douglas, that 100 freestyle. Obviously,
Mhm.
she is an incredible 100 freestyler in both short course and long course. That wasn't the shocking part. Is the fact that
Yeah,
that was a huge drop for her. She
yeah,
was it 50.7 or
I think
50.6? It was 50
so.
point,
Yeah,
like, high-ish, and
yeah.
she
It
was
might
the
have even been
6th.
50.8 in Carmel.
Yeah. Yeah, I meant her personal best from, last year's
Oh,
short course
yeah,
worlds. Yeah,
yeah,
her
yeah, yeah, yeah.
fastest ever, and she was the 6th fastest performer of all time, and then drops down to a 50.19 and takes down the world record that Gretchen Walsh didn't manage to take down
Mhm.
during those short course worlds. Kate Campbell, it went from Kate to Kate. Kate Campbell still held that one, and we know how, just as, like, the benchmark, because if you think of an insane short course swimmer, it's either gonna be Leon Marchand or Gretchen Walsh. Gretchen Walsh was 600ths away from that. And then Douglas is like, nah, let me take it down, that was super cool to see. And yeah, it's not like it's insane showing that, oh, Douglas is fast in the 100 freestyle. It's the fact that, oh, she's that fast right now at stop number 2.
Yeah. I mean, it was, and the fact that she had added time in both of her other events from the Carmel stop at Westmont through the first 2 days, or at least in the 2 breaststroke events. I don't actually know how she did in the 100 IM, but I think that was more fuel for her going into day 3. Just because she was like, well, I was seeing all my friends break world records. I didn't have the swims I wanted to the first 2 days. So like, I just went for it. I just really wanted to have a swim that I could be proud of in the 100 free. And she certainly did go for it. She was under world record pace at every single wall. So she had no hesitation, out in 23:88, which let me check that really quick because I want to see where that would have placed in the women's 50.
I think it would have
Uh,
been 4th or 5th. And
23, it would have been 5th. Yeah.
that's compared to 24:21 for Campbell's world record split going out. So
Yeah.
decent ways under there. And then obviously Campbell was back a bit quicker, but by that point the damage was done. And yeah, she that, like you said, right away, the first 25, she put up, I think it was like 0.39 over O'Callahan at that first
Yeah.
turn. Like that was
Yeah.
already, like, she had half a body just start breakout future. I'm like, oh my God. I think at that point I said out loud, is she going to go 49?
And she almost did, right? I
Yeah.
mean, because again, her 50 time, if her 50 time to the feet would have put her 5th in the 50. So if she would have hand touched at that 50, she would have been 3rd in the 50 because Molly O'Callahan was 3rd at 23:81. So like she had serious speed, and then just keep going, keep that momentum rolling. And Kate Campbell, I mean, if you don't know, which I'm sure many listening do, but has some of the fastest 100 free splits on relays of all time. She obviously had this world record. She set it in Adelaide. So it's also kind of fitting that Kate Douglas would set it in the US, because it
Oh
was
yeah.
set prior by an Australian in Australia. But yeah, I mean, that world record was just phenomenal. But not to not to take anything away from the other world records that were set. Kaylee McEwen going 157 in the 200 back for the first time, and then Reagan Smith also doing that and being 4/100ths away from Kaylee setting a new American record. I mean, it's like they've already built up such a resume in terms of just racing each other and the things they have done on their own, but also when they're racing each other, that it's like I'm like, surely this has to end at some point. Or it's like, surely we're not going to keep getting this must see TV, and we keep do, and it feels like a Christmas present every time, because it's just like they just went the 2 fastest times of all time at this random World Cup meet. Like, are you kidding me?
Yeah, that was crazy. That race too, especially because, once Kaylee McEwen touched first at every single wall, which was very
Mhm.
impressive, especially given the way those two normally split their races. I think she's even saying in her post race interview is like, I went for it. I feel more comfortable doing that in short course. And I feel like going for it, like we just talked about with Douglas, I think that is a very important component of setting records in short course, because you kind of afford it a bit more, because you get that little bit of relief off of the turn way sooner. And so you can kind of not, you don't have as much time for fatigue to set in, compared to if you full send the first 50 on a 200 back stroke. By the time you get 45 meters, you're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
But then Reagan really wasn't, I don't think she touched under world record pace either until like the 175 turn, or
Mhm.
until the very final turn. Like, even if you're, because I'm looking at the graphics and you see how much McEwen's under and how much further back Smith is. She was normally right on the bubble and was kind of building back on it throughout the second 100. She was kind of drifting away from her own splits a little bit and then rallied on there. And so that was really impressive, especially that final 25. Like, it looked like, oh man, McEwen's crushing this race. It's not as big of a blowout as it was last stop, but it's still going to be not close. And then I was like, oh wait, never mind, it's close.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think they were never more than 4/10 apart, but most of most of the times when they flipped, Reagan was within 2/10 of
Yeah.
Kaylee, and then almost made it all up. Again, touched 4/100ths behind Kaylee, and especially for Reagan to have gone, I think, with 200 last weekend, or maybe
Yeah, it
one.
was.
Yeah. In the 200, and then Kaylee was like 158 high, I think. And then for them to both just go the two fastest times ever and become the first two women to go 157 in that event was just like, what?
Two swimmers breaking the world record is always so cool, even though technically only the one broke it. But it's always just such a cool moment to happen, especially when it's that close. That's always fun.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, again, that was a great race. Reagan tying her own 100 back record in 54:02 is obviously always great, especially because she was 54 high last weekend. And again, she dropped 5/100ths in the 200 fly on the first night and didn't seem very pleased with that. And so then I think you saw that in her backstroke races where she was like, I'm actually in a way better place than last weekend. Apparently, that 200 fly just didn't show it. And then Molly becoming the first woman to break 150 in the 200 free, which kind of seemed like a matter of time, but it's still never a sure thing. And to have her, 149.77, she's just adding to her resume and dominance in that specific event in the 200 freestyle. And it is really impressive to see, especially because she dropped like a full second from last week.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's, again, for all of these swimmers, it is pretty impressive to go from, 1 week. In 1 week, they're dropping all of this time. And in some cases for a 200, over 2 seconds. It's just like, yeah, I guess this is what the pros do. They they get a little warm up, they get their bearings in short course meters, and then they drop historic and world record times.
Yeah, and I think that is definitely a benefit of that like super condensed racing, is that there's way more time to improve on your execution for it. And then also we did see it seems like a lot of the theories about the Australian swimmers in particular being able to adjust a little bit more to the time zone change over that week, definitely hit at that point, because then we see two of them setting world records.
Yeah. Yeah. No, and that's a great point too, is that, a lot of the not American athletes, and certainly probably some of those Australian athletes just getting more acclimated, and that is certainly starting to show. So those were obviously the fastest historically swims of the weekend. But just on the women's side, were there any more standouts performances for you, David?
I know there's one that you want to talk about, so I'll stay off of that one.
Yeah. Well, I can start. And just I wanted to shout out Lonnie Pallister because I got called out in the comments because we didn't bring her up last week. So far she has swept the distance freestyle events in this World Cup circuit. 2 400 free wins, a win in the mile last weekend, a win in the 800 free this weekend. Closing in on Katie Ledecky's world records. I think she's second fastest all-time performance in the 800 free. Almost certainly US Open records in the 400 free, and I think the 800 free too. But she's just been putting on a distance freestyle clinic. Essentially, she's come in and completely dominated in these events, which has been really impressive to see. And the mile was this weekend. She went 15:13.83. It's the second fastest performance of all time, behind Katie Ledecky's 15:08 world record. In the 400 free, that's the 400 IM. In the 400 free, she went 3:52, I think.
Yes, she did.
So again, one of the fastest performers of all time. And overall, she's just killing it. She has a very good shot. World Cup record, by the way.
Oh yeah.
Very good shot to triple crown in both of those freestyle events. So I'm impressed with Lonnie Pallister's work of art in this World Cup so far, and wanted to make you listeners aware of it. David, who did you like? What performances were you impressed with over the weekend outside of these world records?
Yeah, I was also super impressed with Lonnie Pallister. I do think that she has a decent shot at least taking a very solid shot at that 800 free world record at the final stop. I think that'll be interesting to see, just because she's been in incredible form. But I also it's not news, but it just feels wrong to have not mentioned her, because definitely one of the swimmers that has most struggled from her own success. Gretchen Walsh continues to be Gretchen Walsh. She continues to be very fast. Didn't break a world record in the 50 butterfly only because she already did. It was faster than the one before that. It's like 200s faster than her old world record. Had she not gone so fast the week before, she would have clipped that world record. And then, it's always so funny when I have that moment whenever she touches the wall in 100 fly and it's like, not a world record, not a 52. I'm like, only 53 high. Yeah. Wait, no one else has done that before.
No one ever.
Yeah. So it's one of those things that, just continues to be insanely fast across all of her events. And even when she's not going faster than anyone, than herself, oftentimes going faster than literally ever. Actually, most in the 3 races she won, faster than literally anyone other than herself has gone in those races. And it's still incredibly fun to watch, just from a pure dominance and racing standpoint, especially with how front heavy she is in her races. The fact, like we're talking about with Douglas, how she just blasts out ahead. It's like, oh yeah, she's got this.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Gretchen will always be easy to talk about just because of how dominant she has become, and certainly short course swimming in the events that she does compete in. And we'll get to some of the other women later once we are previewing Toronto and talking about Triple Crowns. But I think that's a pretty concise or a pretty good overview of what we saw from the women's side, from the top end. I want to move on to just some of the highlights from the men. We saw Sam Short take another win in the 400 free. So he's continuing his distance prowess, although he didn't win the 800. That went to Hungary's Zolan Sarkany. I think it's kind of funny how the butterfly events are playing out. We've seen Noe Ponti now win the 100 fly twice, and we've seen Ilya Karun win the 50 and the 200 twice. So they'll obviously both have chances to win Triple Crowns in those events, but it also seems like they both have decent chances at crown busting the other one, at least with Noe in the 50 and Ilya in the 100. But it's also been fun watching some of the mismatches. Shane Casas swept the 100 and 200 IM again, but this time he also won the 400 IM. So I really enjoyed seeing him in compete in the 400 IM at both stops, but he was in the night final this time instead of the timed final prelim heat as he was in Carmel, and went 6 seconds faster. And so that certainly made a difference for him. And then the breaststroke, I feel like men's breaststroke has been one of the unclearest fields. We've seen a lot of different winners. Ilya Shamanovich took the 100 this time. Casper Corbeau won the 200 at both stops. And you've had a lot of guys vying for titles in the 50 breast. And that, I feel like that's been one of the most fun events to watch, because there's been so many guys who can do it. Casper won the 50 at this stop. But yeah, I think the men's breaststroke has been one of the most fun events just because of the variance we've seen in there. But in terms of the men's side, any highlights that you would like to bring up, David?
Yeah, like you mentioned, I love watching Shane Casas in that 400 IM in the night final. He was obviously much, much faster. He seems like someone who feeds off of the energy of other people racing right next to him, kind of like we saw at the first stop in the 200 IM with him and Marchand. And so I think he's someone who really benefits from having a a field to race against, especially with how fast he likes to take ththings out. He can get his lead, and then he can kind of get that extra push from trying to stop people from catching him. So I think that also benefits just his general the order of his strengths in IM as well.
Mhm.
Those 100 butterflies are some of my favorites with Ilya and Noe. Especially, I love the fact
Yeah.
that Noe Ponti hopped into that 200 butterfly after not swimming it at the first stop, and I respect the way he swam it because he went, listen, I know I've done 200 butterfly before. I'm more on the speed side of things now, so there's really only one way I can win this, which is the most painful way to swim a 200 butterfly, and it's just blast out ahead as fast as I can and then hold on. And he was pretty close to getting the job done, but then Ilya had to go a stupid fast time and go by him at the end. But he still held on for a second. I don't think anyone else caught him. And it also made me, in a weird way, I always known it's fast, but it just put an extra little bit of perspective on how fast the world record from Tomohiro Honda is in that event, because he was moving on that first 100 and he was under world record pace. He
Mhm.
wasn't like far, if it didn't feel like he was far enough under world record pace for how fast he was going out. I was like, man, that's a fast world. And then immediately on the third 50, just like almost a second down or a second out. I'm like, that's crazy.
Yeah, to put it into perspective, Noe at the 100 was 51.04. Ilya, who beat Noe, was 52.3. Yeah, so he was almost a second and a half ahead of Ilya at the 100, and then Ilya won by nearly a second.
Yeah, which is crazy. And Ilya was going super fast. And Ilya again got that touch in the 50 butterfly. That
Mhm.
is such a shock because we saw Noe Ponti just obliterating fields and and taking the world record in the stops last year. He's been looking, it's not like he's been looking slow in any way, but Ilya is just already kind of, we thought he was going to be in a really good form. The fact that he got two in that 50, I kind of thought they would have split it at this point, just
Yeah.
I'm very surprised by that, just because I really thought Noe was going to come back and get him after the sting of defeat last time. But maybe it was strategic. Maybe you let him get it so he can get the crown buster, because if you do it on the second stop, you don't get anything.
Right. And that's what kind of like Shane Shane winning the 400 IM or beating Carson in the 400 IM. It's like, dude, you should have let him get the win this time.
Which you actually
And
could
then
legitimately do in a
next
400 IM. You can't actually do that in
yeah.
a 50.
Yeah, that very true. But yeah, it was kind of funny to see some of those events where you had one person win this time and then another person win in Westmont. Be like, should have let him. You're losing 2,500
Well,
potentially.
Shimanovic should have let Corbeau get it in the 100 breasts too. Another
Seriously.
race that I really enjoyed was the men's 200 freestyle. It's been a pretty stacked field, both the 100 and 200 freestyles. But I also really like watching how they play out. We've seen both times now. You have some of the more 50-100 guys like your Chris Giulianos, your Jack Alexis in that 200 freestyle field that have a bit more of a lead, and then Luke Hobson just kind of chews his way through right around the 100 to 125 split, and then just kind of puts the gas on it a little bit more, and it's a pretty dynamic race, and I've enjoyed watching those as well.
Yeah, surprising that Jack Alexi was someone who seemed to not be quite as sharp at this stop. It'll be interesting to see how he does in Toronto, but he still won the 100 free, but he was, I think, 5/10 slower than he was in that 100 free victory. I think he was 45.3 in Carmel and 45.8 in Westmont. But then the 200 free, which he made the final and got, I think, 5th in Carmel, he missed the final altogether. And not only, I mean, he was 144 in the morning, but that event specifically, the heats were exceedingly deep. It took 143.1 to make it back. That was 8th. 142.1 was top seed. And then Jack Alexi was 144.3 for 18th in the morning. And so I was like, oh, Jack, maybe did Jack like not swim the 200 free when I was looking at results? But no, he did. He just didn't make the final. But yeah, so that event, a lot of depth in this, but also just, yeah, like you said, very fun to watch. And I think all of the men's shorter freestyles, 50, 100, and 200, Jack has won both, but he's had competition certainly in Westmont. They were close to him. The men's 50 free has been kind of a crapshoot. Chris won the first time. I think he was fifth this time, and Ilya won.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that.
20.7. But it's like there was 3/10 between first and fifth again. So it's like incredibly tight. And then the 200 free, Luke Hobson kind of has a stranglehold in that event, I would say, but
Oh
it
yeah.
is quite a good race behind him. And even Chris Giuliano wasn't that far from him, but you do kind of get the sense that if Luke is ahead, most people aren't going to catch him.
Which is
He,
weird because he's not a back half 200 freestyler. He does his
Mhm.
work on the front typically. He tends to
Yeah.
get slower with each 50 split, but it's funny to see that stacked up against 50, 100, 200 guys who have that extra gear. It's kind of funny how he's not swimming it much differently than than he ever does. He's sticking to his pretty rock solid, just the most painful race plan. But when
Mhm.
he's up against people that have a totally different skill set to him, it's kind of funny how he's like, man, he really is just locked in at that 200 distance. He can be decent in 100. He did make the A final in the 100 free and broke 47 seconds in both the morning and evening. And then he can be also throw down decently in a 400, but you put him in a 200 and it's just rock solid.
Yeah. Someone else I'll mention that has been like a real sleeper in this World Cup circuit. They haven't won anything, but they've made it to a lot of finals, and they have made the podium once or twice. Third place in this 200 freestyle in Westmont, Grant House, ASU post grad or pro at this point. He he almost negative split his 200 free. He was 50.0 at the 100. He was sixth, and then he split 51.4 to go 141.5. He was sixth at the 150, fourth at the 175, and third at the 200. So I think that's the best time for him, but like he's been having a lot of good swims, 100 free, 200 free, 100 IM. I think he swam maybe 50 fly as well, but he's been he's been making a lot of finals and kind of been up there. And again, he made the podium in this 200 free, but I think he is one to keep an eye on moving into the next couple of years, just because he almost made the world's team. He was in the 100 free final at US World Trials this past summer. And it seems like he is continuing to improve as a pro. So, yeah, just one swimmer who is quietly kind of moving up the scale, and it's like, oh, all right, good for Grant.
Did we
Yeah.
talk enough about Hubert Koch?
No, we didn't. It would probably get called out. It'd probably be egregious if we didn't mention him. I'm thinking we're going to be talking about Triple Crowns, so we're going to be talking about other people later, but he's certainly in the lead after these on the men's side in the World Cup standings. Swept the backstroke so far. He is undefeated, 6 for 6 in backstroke events at this World Cup circuit, which is just really impressive. Especially because we know he is more of a 200 guy. He is an Olympic and world champion in the 200 back, but he is winning short course 50 backstrokes and literally negative split, or I guess back halved a 50 backstroke last weekend. And then I think he just kind of flat out won this week, but it's been very close, some of these races, but he's getting his hand on the wall first. Yeah, I mean, do you any insight or thoughts on Hubie's
Sorry.
backstroke
Yeah,
dominance?
I'm just looking at, I mean, he's just is continuing to be insanely quick, getting a little bit faster. Also third in the 100 IM, 50.99. Um,
Oh yeah.
got a little bit faster again in that 100 backstroke, 48.78. So might be eyeing that Coleman Stewart world record.
Hmm.
And of course in the 200 backstroke, he can, at this point, he's just been kind of
Yeah.
decently able to just cruise through those with how just insanely good he is in the 200 backstroke. He has some competition from the, in all three of those distances with, I think Chacon got 3 second place finishes
Mhm.
in those. And he's obviously continues to be just looking pretty solid. And it's one of those, as dominant as Coach has been, going 3 for 3 in those backstroke distances across both stops, he can't get too comfortable just because there is a swimmer of that caliber who's ready to pounce on any opportunity. And I think that, even with a consistent, just over and over and over again winner like this, it's always fun when you have just that shark in the water that's waiting for any kind of slip up. And also Chicana, I think it's just hilarious. I love when he's included in the podium. And for the fact, my favorite like moment from him was after the 50 back where, John Mason asked him, is like, oh, so you're gonna get that crown buster next week, right? He's like, yeah, and the 100 and 200 too.
3 for 3.
It was
Well,
so I just love the way he said it too, with this like deadpan delivery.
he's like, yeah, of course. And it's really interesting because he seemed to improve significantly from Carmel to Westmont. So again, maybe he is one who is benefiting just from being in the US a little bit longer and adjusting to time zone, food, etc. But we know that Chacon is that caliber of athlete. Like you said, he's the world record holder in the long course 100 backstroke. I don't think, I'm guessing he would probably tell you he's better long course than short course, but again, maybe just getting used to racing short course meters, especially compared to Hubie, who races in the NCAA and is probably a little more accustomed to short course racing. And we know he has sensational underwater work. Yeah, Chacon might be one who in Toronto certainly is going for some of those crown busters and might be able to pull it off because he was only 1/100th behind Hubie in the 50 backstroke. And
Yeah.
I mean, again, just to exemplify how close the field was, 17 plus 9, 20, 26 100ths between first and sixth. Or I guess there was a technically tie for fifth, but 26 100ths, top 6 swimmers. But again, Hubie got his hand on the wall. And so I think you're right. He cannot get complacent, certainly, because there are guys who are chasing him fiercely. But so far, Koch is dominant in the backstroke in this World Cup.
Yeah, actually, let me fact check myself here. Chacon was third in that 50 back. It was Kasper Sikowski who was in
Yeah.
second, and then Chacon was only 3 100s behind. So 91, 22, 92, 22, 95. I kind of forgot how fast. I think my mental image was still from the first stop where Coach actually had a very healthy win there. But yeah, that was a fast field, and he's just able to just get his hand on the wall first. He's got long arms.
Yeah.
Apparently,
No kidding.
He's going the Matt Grievers route of just I win.
Right. It's just like, we actually swim the same. I just have 2 inches in arm more than you. But yeah. And so that is a perfect transition for our sink or swim portion today, which will also serve as the preview for the last and final stop in this World Cup circuit in Toronto. That starts on Thursday. It'll be Thursday, Friday, Saturday of this week. So we're pretty much just going to go through the list and sink or swim. If the swimmers who have won any individual event at the first 2 stops will in fact triple crown and win and go 3 for 3 in the World Cup circuit, or if they will be crown busted at this 3rd stop. So honestly, we can go through these pretty quickly, but we've got some time so we can have some fun with it. But I'm just going to go down the list. So first off, Jack Alexi, 100 freestyle, sink or swim?
I'm going to swim that one because mainly because he won it at this stop, and I don't think he had a great final swim, which shows me that if he does have a good final swim, he should be a decent winner because he gained a few tenths from the morning, and I feel like he's somebody who's normally pretty good at firing in the evening. So maybe it's, just happens. Don't always have the best swim or the swim you plan for. Still got his hand on the wall first. That gives me confidence that if he does, is a little bit off in the night again, he can still get his hand on the ball first. And if he is going as fast as I think he could maybe go, I'd love to see him get under 45. That would be fun. I just feel like he's got a monster short course 100 free in him. We just saw a monster long course 100 free. He is the reigning short course world champion as well. So I think that
I forgot about that.
I was hoping I had my fact right there. I'm glad you confirmed it there. But I'm going to swim that.
Yeah, I'm swimming that as well. I actually didn't even realize that he was 45.5 in prelims, and then it was 45.8 at in finals. But yeah, I'll swim that. Jack Alexi's been looking good. Yeah, he was 45.38 at short course world championships in Budapest last December to win and become world champion. Just in case you're interested. But yeah, he's been looking good. I think he'll probably try to make some tweaks here and there. Go for the Triple Crown. He has competition, but I think he's been a step above. Next, Shane Casas in the 100 and 200 IM has the potential to double Triple Crown. What do you think of Shane's chances?
I'm going to swim both of them. I mean, he's just been looking so good in the IM events, and he just seems like I'm enjoying this Bowman era of Casas where he seems to have found his consistency to get out there and race, and probably helps the fact that he races some of the best in the world every single day in practice. And I don't really have much of a reason to bet against the hot hand right now.
Yeah, I could go against the grain here, but certainly I'm swimming the 200 IM. The 100 IM, I think he has a little more competition, especially if Coach decides to swim it again, and Noé also decides to swim it again, which I think Noé definitely will, because it's one of his better events, and he's gotten second the last two stops. But yeah, I mean, I think Shane has looked sensational on this World Cup circuit so far. He's gone 5 for 6 in the IM events, and maybe would have gone 6 for 6 if he was swimming the 400 IM at night in Carmel. But I'll swim both IMs for Shane. Yeah, he's looking good. Luke Hobson in the 200 freestyle. I think that's an easy swim.
Yes.
Yeah. We kind of just talked about Luke and his 200 free consistency, but I don't think anyone's gonna challenge him. Especially, it's not technically on home soil, but Toronto's not very far, so
yes,
it's still North America. I think he wins that easily. This one could be interesting. Ilya Karun, 50 and 200 fly. Will he get the double triple?
I'm going to sink the 50 fly and swim the 200 fly. I'm sinking the 50 fly, not because I am pessimistic about how fast Ilya is going to be, but just because I'm optimistic about how fast Noé Ponti is going to be. I think that is going to be another super close race that comes down to that final touch. I just think that Noé is going to be on the good side of that touch in Toronto. Then 200 butterfly, I think Ilya is just going to do what he's been doing.
I'm going to swim both the double triple crown for Ilya, and I'm going to go one further and swim a crown buster in the 100 fly for Ilya. He'll be in Toronto. He'll have the fans on his side. I think he might have even said he's going to clip for this meet, or maybe even shave for this meet. But I think the Canadians specifically will get up and try to go pretty fast at this meet. Ilya's swam at this pool. He's for multiple Canadian trials. He's very familiar with this pool. So I think he's going to have a little extra. I'm sure Noé is going to put up some really great swims at this meet as well. I think it's easy to imagine a lot of swimmers kind of putting their best foot forward on the final stop. But I'm going 3 for 3 butterfly for Ilya Karun, the sweep and the double triple crown. Sink or swim for Noé's triple crown in the 100 fly, David.
I was actually also going to sink that. I do think that Ilya is going to reverse it on him there. I think he's going to be very fast with that newfound home field advantage during that final stop, added in with the extra energy of it's the third stop. We're going to get up and go. And I think that those butterfly races have been pretty much one of the things I've looked forward to on the men's side. And I guess the women's side too, with Gretchen and the sprint butterflies,
Yeah.
every single stop. And I do not see that changing in Toronto.
So David's predicting a double butterfly crown buster.
They've just
Toronto.
been too close in those sprints. I think they're going to flip.
That's fair. And I think we have a couple more instances of a potential of that on the women's side as well. So almost done with the men. Casper Corbeau in the 200 breast. I'm swimming this. I think that's an easy one. He's looked really good in a lot of the breaststroke events. I think he won the 50 and the 200 in Westmont, and I think the 100 and 200 in Carmel. Could be wrong,
Yes.
but
no, you're right on that one.
Okay. He's looked great in breaststroke events, but the 200, he's been pretty dominant. No Leon Marchand to push him in Toronto, so I'm swimming it.
Yeah, I'm swimming it because the closest competition he had was Marchand, and he already cleared that hurdle, so he should be good here. It's been a pretty safe cushion, so I'm going to swim that pretty comfortably.
And then our final Triple Crown potential on the men's side is Hubert Koch in the 50, 100, and 200 backstroke. What do you think, David?
See, I'm tempted to sink the 50 just because it's one of those, oh man, it's so close. There's only 1/100th than last time.
Yeah.
I'm going to swim all three of them just because I have faith that he's going to complete the 9 for 9. The 50, I will admit, is a little less analytical than the other two. I think the 100 and 200 are pretty, safe swims. It might be a bit risky going for the swim on the 50, but I think he did just show that he can. Again, he was a little bit slower than he was in Carmel as well there. So kind of like how I was talking about with Jack, about how he shows when he is a little bit off in the night form, he's still able to put up something fast. He already showed that he can get that win, get that final touch when it counts. And so I'm going to say that he pulls off the triple crown.
Yeah, the 50. I mean, I'm certainly swimming the 100 and 200. He's just looked too good and he's too consistent to see some of those guys beating him. I mean, he won the 100 by almost a second. It's kind of ridiculous. The 50 back, it's just like he never flips first at the 25, but he has such a good back end, or last 25, that it's like he can overcome a significant deficit if he's close to a body length behind at the or maybe half a body length behind at the 25. But it's like, again, he won by 1/100th, and then there's a guy 2/100ths behind that guy, so it's going to be really close. I'll sink it, just for fun. I'll say between Casper, between Thomas Chacon, between someone else, someone's going to get that touch in the 50 back on Hubert, but we'll see. If he goes 9 for 9, that'd be really cool. All right. Moving on to the women's side of things. First up, Kasia Wasik in the 50 freestyle.
I feel like I personally end up sleeping on Kasia Wasik a lot when I'm looking at entries, I'm looking at results. So I'm going to attempt to right my wrongs, and I'm going to swim this. I think she pulls off the Triple Crown. I just find myself personally, I know this personal guy, O'Callaghan will get it here. I'm going to stick with it and say that she's going to win her third 50 freestyle. 50 freestyle is a very difficult thing to try and bet on. I think she's going to pull it out.
Kasia is, first of all, my age. So I'm rooting for her just because she's 33 and she is still doing the dang thing, and not only that, she's winning. She is winning World Cup events. She's won world medals later in her career. She's been to 4 Olympics, I'm pretty sure. At this point, she's going for her 5th in LA. And so she's a really good swimmer, and she's had a long and illustrious career. She's an NCAA champion in the 400 freestyle for USC, 400 free relay. Sorry. Anyway, I am going to sink it though. And this is why. Alexandra Perkins has been on fire. She has been breaking records left and right in the sprint free and sprint fly events. Alexandria Perkins, excuse me. She was 0.15 behind Kasia in the 50 free at Westmont. She's Australian. And so I think she's, again, benefiting from this adjustment period and racing more and more in North America. And her best events are the 50 and 100 fly. And so she's just getting silver, 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 silver behind Gretchen and Kasha. And I think this is her best chance to win an event. And I think she's going to take advantage. I think she's like, I want a gold medal. And so that's my guess. That's what I'm going with. I'm going to say Perkins crown busts Kasha for the 50 free, gets her first gold medal of the circuit. And does not beat Gretchen in the 50 or 100 fly, but continues to get silver and probably break Oceanian records. She's one of the fastest performers of all time, but I feel like no one knows it because Gretchen is just so far ahead of her and everyone else. All right. Molly O'Callahan, 200 free, swim.
I mean, quite literally, how could you bet against the newly minted world record holder after she already won the first stop in what should have been her weakest stop, off the whole time zone analysis. So yeah, easy swim.
It would be bold. Unless she's bleeding from both hands and maybe eyes, and
her wedge breaks, her like normal
exactly.
But if it was going to happen, would have happened in Westmont. We've seen that out. Dressa did that once.
That's true. Yeah, his block was wonky. Which I feel like I was just about to say, we've all seen those videos where, someone like takes their mark and goes, and then the block just completely like falls, and then the swimmer falls into the pool. And it's like, but even if that did happen, I think Molly could still pull out the dub.
Honestly, I think you're right.
It's just like, it would take a lot. It would take a lot. Molly's gonna win. Next, Alex Walsh in the 200 IM.
I feel like, how close have these 200 IMs been? Because I feel like she's been.
I think she won by a bit more in this one. She won by half a second over Anastasia Gorbenko this time, and I think she won by about a similar margin in Carmel.
And she's been swimming I'm going to swim this because the reason why I don't really remember margin of victory is she's such a textbook, like, breaststroke strength IM swimmer, lurking there, makes her move, holds off the field. She does that all the time. She does that on long course too, except normally she's, like trying to also avoid Summer McIntosh's wake, like everyone else is. Although she's the one that's actually closer to it. But yeah, I mean, she's just been executing on these races so well that I feel like she is going to be pretty dialed in this 200 IM and get that crown. And
I will say the margin of victory from Westmont doesn't even tell the full story. At the 175, she was a second ahead of the field. And then Anastasia Gorbenko outsplit her by nearly half a second on the final 25, which, who cares at that point? It's like she was winning. And I'm guessing if it had been closer, maybe Alex would have pushed that final 25 a bit more. But yeah, I'm going to swim that as well. She's looked really good, specifically in that event at the first two stops. And so I think she gets the last one as well. All right. Talked about this before. Lonnie Pallister in the 400 free and the distance event, which again, we'll switch back to the 800 free in Toronto. Swim. No Summer McIntosh, no Katie Ledecky. Who's going to beat her?
Surprise entry in the 800 freestyle. Katie Ledecky shows up.
Oh my God. That would be epic. That'd be cool if Summer's just like, oh, hey, I actually feel better. What's up, Canada?
It's all like a long con by World Aquatics to try and that wouldn't make any sense though, because they would potentially lose out on like ticket sales and excitement. But it would be funny if they did like a full WWE style entrance.
That would be
the Undertaker theme plays.
Canada would lose their mind, as would swim fans, but specifically Canadian swim fans would go absolutely batty for that. But no, yeah, Lonnie's completing the Triple Crown, barring a WWE entrance deck entrance from Summer McIntosh. Okay, this is where it gets interesting. Reagan Smith in the 100 back and 200 fly. 2 fly, I'm swimming. She's been dominant. No Summer. 100 back. What do you think, David?
Oh man, I don't know. I've been thinking about this since the start of the episode, and I'm still on both this one and the 200 backstroke when we get to Kaylee. I'm so torn on it. I think I gotta swim it just because it feels like she's been able to really log. She had a decent margin on the in the first stop, and she's been looking pretty good in just nailing this 100 distance. And I feel like I think she's gonna have the closest fight with McEwen that of the 3 stops. I think McEwen is gonna maybe go like we might even see another double world record in there.
Yeah. 53.8 and 53.9.
Yeah. Like we might see something stupid like that. But I think, and honestly, if you ask me tomorrow, I might change my mind. But for now, I'm going to swim it.
I'm swimming it too. I mean, Reagan just tied her own world record. It's like, I know Kaylee and Reagan back and forth, American bias, blah, 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 whatever. Shut up, commenters. Not really, but no, she just broke. She beat Kaylee by a sizable margin in the 100 in Westmont. And I know that doesn't necessarily mean she will beat Kaylee by a similar margin in Toronto, but I'm going with Reagan in the 100. And I don't think that's very ridiculous.
Yeah. I feel like the point in favor of Kaylee being faster and potentially getting it is depending on when she kind of had the moment where she realized, oh, on these short course races, I want to just push the gas a little bit sooner. If that was only, right before the 200 backstroke, then maybe we'll see her kind of play with how she paces that 100 backstroke and maybe go after a bit more. I feel like that would be the foundation of an argument, other than her just being Kaylee McEwen, to take it in the 100 backstroke. Doesn't change my analysis, but that is still, I feel like that is a very solid argument.
No, that's a great point. And I'm guessing, especially after Kaylee went 55-0 in the 100, and she wins the 50 at both stops, wins the 200 at both stops, but then kind of gets crushed in the 100, specifically in Westmont, by over a second by Reagan. I think she will probably take the 100 out a little more aggressively and try to take it to Reagan a little more.
Which will be so fun for us.
Which we will be the beneficiaries, certainly. So that brings us to Kaylee McEwen. She has the opportunity to triple crown in the 50 back.
Now here's the fun part. So Coleman's Wi-Fi is out. I have no idea are we still live, Coleman?
I think we're still live. We're back. I'm sorry. That was my mistake, or my Wi-Fi went out. So
why did you break your Wi-Fi, Coleman?
My bad, everyone. Okay. So now we're moving on to Kaylee McEwen. She has the opportunity to triple crown in the 50 back and the 200 back. I'm predicting 3 different backstroke champions in Toronto. I am swimming Kaylee McEwen triple crowning in the 200 backstroke, and I am sinking in her triple crowning in the 50 backstroke, banking on the fact that Gretchen Walsh swims the 50 back and dethrones her.
I am shaking my head, not because I disagree, but because you stole my answer, Coleman.
No. I'm so sorry.
The same person I think is going to beat her. I think, 2/100ths. I just think that we're going to see a stupid Gretchen Walsh swim where it's like, oh yeah, I forgot she's really good at backstroke too. We kept seeing her in the NCAA for a bit before she really focused in on butterfly duties. But I do think that she is going to, also just because I can't imagine, since I already swam Regan Smith winning the 100 backstroke, my mind cannot comprehend a scenario where she swims 3 backstroke races and leaves with 3 minor medals. That just does not compute in my brain.
I mean, that would be crazy, but it's also, judging by Westmont results, like very possible, right? Like Reagan could win the 100 and the 200, and Gretchen could win the 50, and Kaylee wins none. Which I've given my answers. I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it could.
There's a path for it to happen, which shows how I think is one of the fun things about short course swimming in particular too, right? The fact that there's that extra element of, the equalizers of underwaters and turns and the different pace of it just kind of adds an extra level to it that shows that someone who, traditionally in long course is such an insane lock. You can, especially in season short course too, can have those extra layers. And it's just why the World Cup is fun. The fact that we're even talking about the fact that there's a pathway for that to happen. Whereas if we did that before like a world championships, people would be like, is there like a gas leak in your guys' dwellings?
People would be upset. And they have been with me in the past for similar reasons. But I'm not saying that this time. So let's move on to Gretchen Walsh, who could go for the triple. Well, who will be going for the triple. 50 fly, 100 fly, and 100 IM. I have no reason to sink any of this. The only possible outcome I could see is Kate Douglas, her teammate, upsetting her in the 100 IM. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think she goes 9 for 9.
Yeah, Douglas has been really fast in the 100 IM, but not particularly close to Gretchen. Like she's been super fast relative to everyone else in the all-time rankings, but Gretchen Walsh has so dominant that honestly, I feel like the safest swim for any of the 3 swimmers that have 3 triple crowns available to them is Gretchen Walsh.
Yeah. And so then we move on to the other swimmer who has 3 triple crowns available, Kate Douglas. 100 free, 100 breast, 200 breast. What do you think?
I feel like I would have entertained the idea of sinking the 100 freestyle if she had gone anything other than a 50.19. If she hadn't broken the world record, dropped so much, because I think last time when we're talking about who's going to win the overall, I'm like, well, what do I think is going to be better, a Gretchen Walsh 100 IM or a Kate Douglas 100 freestyle? Probably the Gretchen Walsh 100 IM. Well, that was wrong because now we have a world record in the Kate Douglas 100 freestyle. So I'm just going to swim all 3 of those because as I think O'Callahan's going to be very fast in the 100 freestyle. I think she's going to be, maybe put a bit of pressure on Douglas, but just after what we just saw, I feel like I don't have enough of a reason to justify sinking it other than craving the drama, which is a valid reason.
Yeah, I mean, I will say I'm swimming all 3. Like 200 breast, absolutely not.
Yeah,
that's kind of like Molly O'Callahan in the 200 free. 100 breast, there are a lot of good sprint breaststrokers at this World Cup circuit, but Kate has just been dominating all of them. She's
been finding ways to get it done.
Yeah, she won the 100 by, I think, over a second. She was 103 low, I believe, 103.1. Yeah, over a second ahead of Mona McSherry, Olympic medalist in the 100 breast. So it's just like, no, it's not going to happen. And then 100 freestyle, like, I think there was a path before Westmont where it's like Molly could catch Kate, but I don't think that's going to happen now. I will say, if I had to put money on it, I don't think Kate will break her world record in the 100 free in Toronto. I think she will go slower, but that doesn't mean that I think anyone will beat her.
Yeah, I mean, she goes at 50.3. Like,
yeah. But would I love to see the first 49? Obviously. But yeah, yes, I think Kate will pull off the triple as well. Okay. That's our show. That's our World Cup Week 2 breakdown. And thank you for tuning in. And hopefully, we will see you next week for a complete Toronto and World Cup circuit as a whole review.